Hello and welcome. This is Asake Online. Welcome to the Breakfast Club. My name is Zenzele Ndebele. In our program today, we'll be talking about the drama that is happening in the MDC. A few days ago, we heard that Chamisa had addressed the meeting, a provincial meeting, where councillors were available or were present in that meeting. And in that meeting, the current deputy mayor, Councillor Tinashe Kambarami, resigned. And he said they were stepping down because of the history behind this, that there was always a story that when he was nominated, he did not follow the party directive to elect Mlandu, who we were told was chosen by the party. So on Saturday, on Sunday, Kambarami resigned, supposedly, because the letter of resignation did not go to the town clerk. 24 hours later, we heard that the MDC as a party, or the councillors as a caucus at the party, had elected Kambarami again to the position that he had resigned and not handed in his resignation. So there was this confusion on what is going on, how do you resign and not resign, but we're used to those things in Zimbabwe because we've had a coup that was not a coup, we had an HIV/AIDS coup which was not, with the oil which was not discovered, and all these kind of things. So the MDC joined the drama as well in Bulawayo, and we'd have all these issues. But what is worrying is that when these things happen in the opposition, because you are supposed, we think that this is the party that will be following procedure, that will be doing everything according to the book, because they're the government in waiting and therefore they need to lead by example. But anyway, that's not the case. So today in the program, I have invited Mlandu Ncube, who is the guy who was supposed to be the deputy councillor, was supposed to be deputy mayor, and then withdrew last minute in the election that was held on Monday. For whatever reasons, we are going to hear from him. We had also invited Tinashe Kambarami to say his side of the story. Unfortunately, he could not make it. And then we also invited Effie Ncube, who is a political analyst and an activist, to try and get an understanding to say exactly what's going on in the MDC. Is this a reflection of our society? Is this a reflection of our politics? But one thing for sure that I've noticed about Zimbabwean politics is that it is polarized and it is highly tribal. Councillor, welcome to the program. My first question to you is, the last interview that we were having, or the last interview that we had, you were preparing for the elections. Probably tell me that from that time, what happened?
I think the last interview that we had, we were preparing for deputy mayor elections and the mayorship. I think I succeeded. I like to make it very clear that through my capacity during interviews that took place, I became top in Bulawayo for the post of the deputy mayor. Then the president went on to confirm me as the party deputy mayor for the city of Bulawayo. So I greatly appreciate what the president did, and I believe he used his wise vision to endorse the outcome of the interviews. I am greatly honored for that.
But today you are not the deputy mayor, so if you are saying you succeeded, then what happened if you were the official candidate for the party mayor, a deputy mayor?
Well, it's a talk of the world that everyone knows that there is some corrupt activities that took place where other councillors decided to defy and do what they think is right for them to benefit individuals. So that's then led me at council not to be elected as the deputy mayor. But I still know I'll be the deputy mayor of the city of Bulawayo.
So you make serious allegations, Lapa, that there were some corrupt activities that happened. Maybe would you like to expand on that?
No, we've got evidence we have got evidence where people bought shoes and everything. And actually some senior members of the party who were actually going against President's directive, being seen driving to Bulawayo to intimidate councillors that, no, don't worry, you do what you want, you've got your own right, the president never endorsed Mlandu. Yet what happened is that when the president called in a meeting, that was confirmed that Mlandu is the candidate. And when it happened like that, the councillors refused the endorsement. We then went for an election as councillors in the party caucus, which I came out the winner. So we know I've got names of senior leaders, which I cannot mention, but I've done all due process within the party to inform the party that no, leader A and B was involved in this way, because I believe it's not about me. We must do the right thing. When you say everyone come for an election, no problem. I could have prepared. But if you say prepare your credentials and your capacity, I did prepare capacity and my credentials. But someone will be preparing a store. It's good as preparing a papu and someone organizing a can. So we are saying that really what happened.
Why is if it's not about you, what's the problem? Why would all these councillors defy a party directive to nominate you as the deputy mayor?
Yeah, one thing that I can tell you is that some councillors did not use their capacity. You know, or everyone knows that these days stomach speak. We all know money exchanged hands, and to be honest, I don't blame them. They are suffering because so you find some of these are first-time councillors. When they got in, they thought that they have arrived in Canaan when they go to council. But when they get there, they discover that it's a bed of roses. So well, you can expect that if Mlandu is coming saying, no, vote for me, and someone is coming saying, no, vote for me, but today you are going home with a glass shoe. So that is the scenario.
But do you have names of councillors who got these glass shoes?
I do have names, but at the moment, because I have officially complained within the party structures, so the party is, I think, is seized with this matter. I cannot go forward, because if someone is implicated by the investigation, we will say the investigation found it, they did not investigate, but relied on this interview. So I need to not disturb the investigation part.
So during the weekend, the president of this party, of the MDC, came to Bulawayo and he addressed the meeting. Were you part of those who were addressed by the president?
Yes, I was part of the meeting.
What was his message?
His message was clear that councillors should respect party directives as per constitution, that the president, as per the template that we actually all used when we applied to be councillors and also when we applied to be the mayor, that the final decision lies with him. So he advised us as councillors to stick to council resolution, to party directive, and when he met us as councillors, he discovered that there was a bit of some misunderstandings, because what has happened is that there are some people, for the reasons known to themselves, are dividing councillors according to tribal lines. And they've used the saying, if you are Shona, you must not support Mlandu because it's Ndebele. And that is what is they are saying. So he then says, no, the first thing that we need to find before we resolve the issue of mayor and the issue of deputy mayor is we need to find understanding amongst councillors, with the pretense that according to the law, the person who was currently holding the office of deputy mayor must first resign. You only resign from council because you took oath in council. To me, the position of the deputy mayor from the day Councillor Kambaram was elected never became vacant, because the Open Councils Act says the position lies vacant if someone dies or after town clerk receives a resignation letter. When they send town clerk, they don't mean town clerk's office. A town clerk is the correspondence office for council. So when they say town clerk, they'll be meaning that it has arrived in council and adopted. So to me, that position never became vacant. So it was unnecessary for, it is actually not vacant at all. So which means to me, we have not sticked back to that. Councillor Kambarami must resign, and if he resigns, should pave way for a party directive.
So this, what you're saying is that the weekend events were a non-event?
No, the president came and said, we must first do things first, which is finding each other, and follow procedure. How do we go there? Simple. which I said to myself, which I even said to councillors, that I'm looking at things, that if my candidature and Kambarami's candidature is dividing councillors and is disturbing the progress of council, because if there is discord in a political party which is in charge of the city, that discourse automatically transfers to the city council. Then it disturbs the service delivery. That affects the residents who are voters. I said, if that is the effect, I think both of us should just stand aside and have a scenario where a uniting person will come in. So I'm saying, the president's words were very clear, that first unite, first heal, but let's follow procedure. Let's go back to square one, where the thing started.
So you guys, why were you in a hurry? I mean, the president declares today, the next day, within 24 hours, you're already having party elections before the deputy mayor even resigns. Why were you in a hurry to have these party elections?
It's unfortunately that I just got it when I was coming here, that yesterday there were elections of the deputy mayor. What happened? We had a meeting for councillors yesterday, where issues were raised. And the issue of what is the procedure of resignation was stated out. That write a letter, resign, and then pave way for an election of a successor. It was said in a meeting, and then the leadership that presided over agreed. And the senior person who was there was the vice president. Said, after this deliberation, I can see that we need to follow procedure. Because even if we do an election today, you will remain divided. Let's first go these processes. And that was the resolution. And then I went out. But later to hear that the resigned deputy mayor has been re-elected again. So you honestly, you cannot say the deputy mayor resigned when he resigned in a political party meeting, because it does not serve as the deputy mayor in a political party. He serves as the deputy mayor in Bulawayo City Council. And there was no need for elections because there was no vacancy. Let's say I had gone for an election and won, and he had not officially resigned, and if he refuses with power, who then going back to Mugabe's 2008 and July 27 issue.
So how do you solve this problem?
No, one thing that I know and believe, my president is what is finally, he said, go back to the procedures, follow the process. We must start from and agree in principle that the president has got a final say. Agree that the president, we agree that there were interviews. We agree that there was a election which I won. So that is the starting point. That is the starting point. Because we cannot say this juice that is in class A is poisonous. And then we remove that juice from class A and put it in class B and then drink. Unless if they are telling us that the glass is the poison, not the juice. But here, we all know the juice is the problem. So we don't need to change glasses. We need to change the juice that is inside.
So can I say the MDC is a divided party at this point?
No. No, it's not divided, but there are certain individuals who think they are the party. The party is united and moving forward and getting stronger and stronger. But there are certain individuals who don't know really what to do, who think they are the party.
So you guys, why did you fail to follow this what looks like an easy procedure from the onset?
No, the crisis is the same thing. Those people who think they are special, who think they are the party, who don't even understand how local authority operates, who don't even understand their roles as leadership, they are the ones who are a problem. Because you can't tell me that you sit in a standing committee meeting with the president who says, this is point B, we are going left, and you agree, and you pray, you close the meeting, and then you come down in Bulawayo and say, no, we are going B. So this is the crisis, that it's not a divided party, no. If the party is divided, we could not have held a very successful celebration in Harare, could not have held 2 rallies in Matebele and South, could not have held a very successful Bulawayo Provincial Assembly on Sunday. But we have got certain individuals who think they are bigger than the party, who are trying to divide this party on tribal lines, who want to mislead people who are coming, let's say, Shona-speaking people, saying to them, certain individuals don't want you because they're Ndebeles, and going to Ndebeles and saying, certain people don't want you because you are Shonas. So these are few elements that want to think they can make something big from tribalism.
There have been allegations that you, Mlandu, and Kambarami, you are Chamisa's boys, so it becomes problematic for Chamisa to decide how to solve the problem, because he can't disappoint the two of you. Yeah.
Well, to me, President Chamisa is my president. I knew the president when he was national chairperson of the Youth Assembly, when I was in school by then, but I was so much involved in politics. So I've known him for a long time. I'm in his boy in the sense that I'm in the party that he leads, and we believe in the same thing, that we must liberate this country. We believe in the same. Actually, I can say we're in the same religion, political religion. So, and I don't believe my president makes decision to favor someone or to disappoint someone. My president is a principled man. He makes decisions that are better for the party and the city and the voters. So I know if people call me Chamisa's boy, it's fine. People have been calling me Panda's boy, whosoever's boy. I'm the boy of the leadership because I believe in principle that President Chamisa believes, that Vice President Washman believes, that other political party, national MDC leadership believes, and Panda and provincial leadership believes. So, well, I'm their boy.
So, are you, what's the way forward for you personally in the party? From here, what's next?
What I want is that the party should bring order within Bulawayo City Council. One, I have said it very clearly that if my candidature is stalling progress, is dividing people, I don't have any problem. I can step aside, and I've told everyone. But what I'm saying is that we must do things, we must be consistent in what we do so that the investor can trust. You can't trust someone who says, I'm going left, and you are looking at him, he's going right. So you cannot invest in such a scenario. So I'm saying what we need is order. Let's go to basic. Let's go where we started and move forward. We cannot, as long as I guess saying in Tondolo, see one day in Tondolo. Ukuthi imbuzi esi10 izolo namhla asitshela ukuthi wabeyanda esiganu siyisene yaphuma uchago. Lokho kuyazila. We can't do that. And the wish, and the other thing is that it became in public domain that there is going to be an election of the deputy mayor. There is going to be an election of the mayor. Everyone in the city got interest. There were corners people were saying, we prefer Mlandu, we prefer Kambarami, we prefer Chunga, we prefer so and so. But my worry is that whether if you are a Ndebele person or a Ndebele-led organization says we prefer Mlandu, they say, you see, he's being backed by other political parties which are not MTC. He's backed by tribalists. But if a Shona-speaking person say, I prefer Chunga, it's not said it's tribalism, then we've got a problem. If a Shona-led group says it prefers Mlandu, they say, I'll tell you. To the extent that you go to council, I have councillors that are Shona speaking, that supported me. And I believe I became #1 in interviews, not because I'm Ndebele or Shona, because I was supposed to be #1. I did well. I became #1 at party caucus, not because I'm Ndebele or Shona, but because councillors saw it fit, using their sober minds, that this man has got a capacity to be deputy mayor.
So between party caucus and council elections, what changed?
As I told you, that stomach started to decide, monies and whatever. So that's the issue.
So you didn't also counter the offer?
No, I can't, because honestly, I've been. I think I'm the most poorest person in that council. So, and I don't believe that you need to support me because I've given you money. I believe you must support me because we share the same vision, which is alleviating and improving our Bulawayo. Because to be honest with you, the only city that I, Mlandu Ncube, know, which is my home currently, I have not moved to any city, is Bulawayo. I've got two homes, which is Bulawayo and Cholocho. So if I come here and corruptly further my interest, which will affect the development of Bulawayo, I'll be killing people that I left in Cholocho expecting to come to Bulawayo. So I don't believe that I must buy someone to get into office, and I will never do that.
There was this perception towards the elections that councillors did not prefer you because you had scandals. I mean, what scandals are these?
That's the crisis that I've said to person. If Mlandu had scandals, go to the police station and report Mlandu that told that. And I have said, if the one who is saying I am corrupt, can they tell me how corrupt I am? And they went on and councillors voted me to be audit chairperson. If I've got scandal, why did they vote me to be an audit chairperson? So that's the crisis.
So, do you think you'll be the deputy mayor of Bulawayo?
Yes, I'll be the deputy mayor of the city of Bulawayo. And the one thing that is interesting and that makes me feel honored. Do you know when you move around, just moving within the city, people identify themselves with you. That sitting next to the mayor to me means nothing. But the honor and the expectations and the hope that I have from Bulawayo, the Shona speaking, Ndebele speaking, everyone who knows how I have performed in council, it makes me feel, yeah, these are people. It makes me feel that this is how we can go. So, to me, the issue of the deputy mayor has not been resolved because the reversal of defiance has not been done. Councillor Kambaram did not resign, so it's 0-0.
On that note, I would like to thank you, and I hope that we will talk to you in the next few months when you are eventually deputy mayor. You can hear from Mlandu's point of view. He thinks that he's still going to be the deputy mayor, and he thinks that besides, people already see him as the deputy mayor. This looks like it's complicated as most of us would think. But let's hear from Effie what he thinks about this situation. There's this ongoing drama about the MDC. The mayor is chosen and is not the one recommended by the party. The mayor resigns but does not resign. He goes back. What's going on?
Well, you have to start with understanding the geopolitical and social foundation of the MDC. The people who established the MDC did not come from Mars, they did not come from the moon, they came from here in Zimbabwe, where we have a certain political background. The background of ZANU-PF, the background of ZAPO, the background of the liberation movement, and it is generally defined by a top-down approach to decision making. It is not a federalized approach, it is not a devolved approach. It is also one that is based on intolerance, that is based on imposition of decisions. It is also, since the 1980s or the late 70s after Mkagawa, one that is so tribalized, deeply and institutionally tribalized. So you have to understand that. And having said that, it is not surprising for me that the MDC is failing to come to grips with this very issue of the mayor, the deputy mayor, because they are refusing to acknowledge the historical factors that influence that. One has to understand that in this region, you walk into a police station, every police officer who is there, whether you are in Binga, you are in Victoria Falls, you are in Plumtree, you are in Kezi, you are in Beitbridge, does not speak the local language. You walk into a hospital, that is the same. You walk into a government office, from the sweeper to the manager, it is the same. Every department of government is manned by people who do not speak the language of choice or the first language of the people who are the majority in that particular area. And having said that, then people naturally will respond to the election of the mayor, the election of the deputy mayor, in recognition, in cognizance of where we are coming from in terms of the historical factors, that if we let a mayor who is not necessarily from this region, from the local language, a deputy mayor who is not from the region, from the local language, to go into the last bastion of culture and language in the region, then what has effectively happened is that everything is dead. So people are coming from that position. But the MDC seems to be in denial. That's why you see this back and forth. Instead of confronting the monster they inherited from ZANU-PF head on, and then they deal with that successfully.
I mean, I find it very interesting that they are failing to follow what they call their own laid down procedures. Because according to them, there was a process which was done. The party recommended the mayor and the deputy mayor, but when it comes to voting, the councillors decided otherwise. And the MDC, what is simple failing is to then say, this is what we're supposed to do, and then you didn't do it, so plan B, this is how we. So how is Bulawayo different from Victoria Falls and Maswingo and Chitungwiza, who are having the same problem?
That is the problem of double speaking. You see, what they did in Maswingo, what they did in Victoria Falls was supposed to be done here in Bulawayo. If they live up to their principles, their policy position, that if we recommend a particular direction, a particular candidate, every person is going to be whipped into line. They seem to be jittery and not finding their feet when it comes to Bulawayo. Or somehow there is a better heart for the deputy mayor, Kambaram, than what they did to other people in other areas of the country. One would expect that they stand up against the violation of their policy principles, against their electoral positions. But having said so, you need to go back and say it did not just happen overnight. You need to go back to at the primary level. What are the principles of the MDC that inform their primary elections? Is it just a free and fair election, or you are also informed by your beliefs in a devolved power system, where you say, we want to ensure that the people that are coming out of the primary elections are reflective of the devolution of power we believe in, so that you are not found to be preaching something else and doing something else. So they were supposed earlier on to ensure that the people that get to be the candidates on behalf of the MDC Alliance are actually the kind of people that they would want to be mayors and deputy mayors. So that you don't have a situation where 29, probably 20 out of 29 of the people are not from the category where you want to pick your mayor and deputy mayor. Why did you allow that situation to develop, that development to be there? You were supposed to put your foot on the ground and say, we are going to emphasize a devolved power system. We want in Blamtree the people who are native to that area to represent the MDC in Parliament. We want in Binga the people who are native in that area to represent the MDC Alliance in Parliament. The same with Bulawayo and so forth. A lot of people have said, well, Bulawayo is a cosmopolitan area. Cosmopolitan, but still from a particular point of view. You cannot just go into London and say just because a mayor, Kani, his parents came from Pakistan, then therefore every other person, every other city in the UK has to allow that kind of a development. No, that does not work like that. We have a particular history in this country, a history of Kukurawundi, a history of marginalization. So we have to take that into account and add onto it our desire for devolution. Not just expect ZANU-PF to do it, but to practice it as we oppose ZANU-PF that is not practicing it.
But is it not an indication of the confusion probably and failure of leadership within the MDC to say they're a party that doesn't really follow their constitution in many times? This is why even the rise of Chamisa was controversial in a way that they didn't follow the constitution and all these kind of things. And now he is, I mean, so many things that are going on.
Yeah, certainly there is no question about that. This is reflective of failure of leadership. Failure of leadership, failure to put your foot on the ground and say this is the direction that we're going to take. But before you get to there, you need to develop a set of principles and value systems that are going to guide your membership, so that you do not have to impose your decisions from Harare. There is no need that decisions are made at the Moke and Tsvangirai house, as it is now called, the former Harvest House, onto every street in Zimbabwe. There is no president, whether a political party president, a country president, a company president, who can make very good decisions from the center to the outlying areas. You need to empower your provinces, to empower your districts, your branches, so that they are able to make those decisions that you are comfortable with without getting into the day-to-day operations of those areas. The problem with the MDC is that the national leadership seems to be underestimating the capacity of the localized leadership to make good decisions. That is caused by failure to institutionalize a certain value system as a party. If devolution of power is institutionalized and people understand what it means, you won't have to impose a decision from the Morgan Tsvangirai house, but it will just run itself like that. Get competent people in who understand the party principles, and then the party will run. But if you attempt to impose discipline from up, everything will be chaotic. And at the end of the day, how do you translate from an autocratic leadership-based party to a democratic leadership country? You need to be democratic as a political party, to be devolved as a political party, before you can run a devolved democratic country. That is how these things work.
But what I find interesting about this whole thing is that the president of the party is, part and parcel of the problem, and the solution is in the thick of things. Doesn't MDC have structures at provincial level, at district level, that can actually solve this issue until it gets to the national position and he has his own side?
Probably is because he has just come into power, let me put it that way, because there is no way, as I said earlier on earth where decisions are made that way. You cannot get involved at branch level of a political party, at local level of a political party, at provincial level. You are the person making decisions from up there going down, up and down the ticket as it is called. You need to develop a set of directions for every member to follow. And then you sit up there, wait for decisions to be made on the ground. Trust the people that are at branch level. Trust the people at ward level. Trust the people at district level. Trust the people at provincial level to be able to lead the areas of their jurisdiction. Trust them. The problem is that he seems not to be trusting their capacity to lead, to lead to a direction that he wants. That is where the problem is. So he needs to sit down and ensure that he lets the people to run themselves in a democratic way. You don't need to come from Harare and say you must not elect this person, you must not pick this person. That is already too late a stage, because you did not develop, as I said earlier, a set of directions to guide the primary elections of the party so that they put the right people that you are going to be comfortable with when they get to be elected as mayors and councillors or deputy mayors of the region or a particular town or geography.
Is this an indication that the MDC going to the Congress is going to have a lot of problems, a lot of divisions, and probably we might see another split?
Well, that is always a possibility. You can see there is that instability. But if they can find within themselves sufficient leadership quality, they can keep together. But they have serious challenges. They are yet to be this one unity that operates going to one direction with unanimity, with consensus, with understanding, but still allowing for democratic disagreements to exist in the party. There is no question of trying to impose a particular direction, either from a president, a secretary general, without allowing the people the space to think. If there is anything that we fought as a people all the 37 years or 38 years against was the imposition of a culture that does not allow for freedoms of expression, the right to think, the right to express your opinion, the right even to disagree with those in power. I think what needs to happen in the MDC is for the national leadership to realize that disagreements within a party is a sign of democratic growth, not of chaos, as they seem to be thinking. Allow for people to think freely, express themselves, and the party grows in unity. But if you try to stamp out dissent, then you cause plotting and disagreements that may bring the party down.
Yeah, I mean, moving from the MDC saga and saying, look at Zimbabwe where we are today. This time, this year, the last year, this time, people were excited that chances of Mugabe going out, and there was all this chaos within ZANU-PF. A year later, in terms of prices, in terms of bond versus US, we are worse off than where we were. I mean, what's your reading of the situation?
Well, the economic fundamentals haven't changed. The bond note was a problem from the beginning, from 2014. It wasn't supposed to be there because it created an artificial exchange rate that was not supposed to be there. These problems were always going to come. It's surprising that it took so long from 2014 to 4 to 5 years. It was supposed to collapse within a few months. So it is a fundamental challenge on its own as an economic basis. Secondly, you have the issue of corruption, which is the biggest in the country. The problem with corruption in Zimbabwe is that we have a corrupt ZANU-PF running a corrupt country. In ZANU-PF, you have in cabinet, corruption is in attendance. In the Politburo, corruption is in attendance. In the Central Committee, corruption is in attendance. In all the structures going down, corruption is in attendance. So whatever decisions or planning you are doing, you are planning when corruption is in attendance. They will notify those people that you want to go after, that so and so is going to be trying to arrest people tomorrow or so forth. So we have institutionalized the corruption in Zimbabwe that we need to stamp out. But the problem is that the people that we want to use as tools to eradicate corruption are themselves deeply corrupt. So you have a corrupt individual working for a corrupt institution built by a corrupt political party, ZANU-PF, trying to clean the country. It's very difficult to do that. It is impossible. And then you can talk about other fundamentals like the low confidence of citizens in the banking and financial services system, because also there is lots of corruption, nepotism, and other things that are not good for the country. And then also just the political environment. It takes time to heal the country, but those people that are running the country are not the kind of people that can bring the country together, give the investor community confidence, give the people of Zimbabwe confidence. That is why they are always plotting against the economy, as it seems. But they are trying to feed their families. But up there is corruption.
So 1 year, we will be celebrating 1 year since Zimbabwe had the change of government, a coup, and all those kind of things. What are your comments? Are we better off?
Well, we're better off without Robert Mugabe. There is no question about that. I found it really sickening for people to try to say just because the bond US dollar exchange rate was kind of stable, then we should have continued with Robert Mugabe. That is silly. You have to take into account his background. He is the person who slaughtered so many people. At least he was in charge, even if the current president and others participated in it, but it is President Mugabe who was in charge. And the corruption, the level of collapse in the country was left by him as he exited office. That does not exonerate those that are in the office now. But all I'm saying is that the country is always better off without a dictator, an autocrat like Robert Mugabe. But we expected by now to have moved far away in terms of democratic space, in terms of respect for human rights and the rule of law, in terms of constitutionalism, in terms of even the bits and pieces that would have come together to shape up a good economy by this time. But we are still far away from there. We have seen people being arrested on trumped-up charges. The political space that had been opened leading to the election is fast closing on us. The Constitution is just a piece of paper that is not being respected. We need to go back to the values of the liberation struggle where we are fighting for equality, for a non-corrupt system. But so far, even going into 1 year since the Emmerson Mnangagwa took over, we are not better off, especially economically. We are in deep trouble, very, very deep trouble. That is only equaled by the troubles we had prior to 2009, unfortunately.
So then we have seen, I mean, the role of the military in Zimbabwe probably since 1980. And now they seem to be actually having more control. If we're to move forward as a democracy, how do we entangle our politics from the controls of the military?
The history of it is important. If you take into account the history, then you will understand why we are in this problem. It was the political party that was established first, and it is the political party that established the military wing. That military wing became the national army of the state. So those people, because they were loyal to the party, have continued to be their loyalty with the party. They have conflated the state government and the party together. It's one thing. It's very difficult to then disengage a general who joined Zanla, which is ZANU's military wing, when they were aged 15, to suddenly disengage themselves from loyalty to ZANU-PF. It takes a lot of education. It talks of a lot of institutional reforms. You would remember then, going back to around 2008, coming this side, when we were championing institutional reforms. That's what we were talking about. Others were calling them security sector, media reforms, and so forth. But in broad terms, we were talking about institutional reforms. You need to retire the people who have loyalty to the party and begin to gradually raise from within the ranks those people that are not so loyal to the party. You need to introduce a course of study within the military, within the security sector, that will educate them about the difference between the state government and the party, and the requirement of the constitution to ensure that they are loyal to the state and the constitution and not the party, that they would not support the political party, even if it is ZANU-PF in this instance, if it deviates from the precepts of the constitution, from the provisions of the constitution, if it contravenes the foundations of a constitutional democracy, they will not support it. It is important to go through all those stages. It is unfortunate that during the integration stage in 1980, 81, 82, we did not do that. Instead, we moved quite quickly to Gukurahundi and started killing people instead of doing security sector reform. And it is also important to note that the fact that you had Gukurahundi, which was an extension of a political party itself, it means a lot of killing, a lot of corruption, a lot of bad things have happened in the name of the party. And they are very much loyal to that one. So we would need to do a lot of the security sector reforms.
So the other thing is that if you're looking at Mugabe goes, there are elections and people have a lot of hope. Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF have promised people a lot of things, you know, good health, education, the economy of Zimbabwe is going to do well. We have 15 billion worth of foreign fund or foreign investment commitments. Come after the elections, zero, nothing happens. Do you think Mnangagwa overpromised?
Well, naturally, politicians, I think the world over, they have a tendency to overpromise. I have found no politician who doesn't do so, especially because they want to win. So they will tell you what you want to hear. If you want jobs, they will promise 10 million jobs. Sometimes they even promise a number of jobs that are greater than the population itself. I found it really is laughable. Sometimes in other countries where the population is 10 million, they promise 15 million jobs, which is not practical. But the failure of ZANU-PF, of Emmerson Mnangagwa, or President Emmerson Mnangagwa in this instance, is a failure that was to be expected without the reforms that were supposed to attend together with the advent of a new regime, as they call it, the new dispensation. What does new in this instance mean? We need to have the new things that they are talking about. Is it a new respect for the constitution, new respect for the rule of law, new respect for human rights, new disdain for a corrupt institutions? Is it a new attitude, open attitude towards investors and so forth? The new part of it is yet to show up its head. We are still seeing a lot of roots and branches of the former regime still prevailing in the state. So it is unlikely that unless there is a deeper crackdown against corruption, unless there is a fundamental shift in value systems away from the old ZANU to this, what they call new dispensation, then we're going to continue with those problems. We are not going to transform the economy, but we need to do something about the economy, do something about political attitudes, do something about the corruption. Those are the three things that are destroying the economy. As I remember in one forum, I used I reminded people that the economy did not destroy politics in Zimbabwe. It is the politics that destroyed the economy. So you cannot fix the economy before you fix the politics. The politics is embedded in corruption. The politics is embedded in nepotism, in tribalism. The politics is embedded in a lot of underhand dealings of foreign currency, access to foreign currency and all those things. So unless you deal with the corrupt political system that is there, you are not going to deal with the economic problems that we have. They need to understand that before they move in a year or two going forward.
Zimbabwean politics never ceases to amaze, be it in ZANU-PF, be it in ZAPU, MDC Alliance. You always have these internal divisions and squabbles and all these kind of things. And I think, in a way, it affects how Zimbabwe is run. What we lack in Zimbabwe are strong institutions, people who respect their constitutions, people who respect their internal processes. I really don't know which is which in the MDC, but I wish, as an opposition, as a party that thinks that one day they'll run this country, they need at least set the example and follow their processes that they lay down. If they decide that this is the person that we're going to go with, they should do that. Because this confusion and chaos does not really bring, a bit of confidence at all to the opposition. And I hope one of these days they will find a solution to this problem, and there will be an opposition that is worth to be an opposition. Till we meet again tomorrow, have a good day. My name is Ncube.